Hey everyone, I'm Coach Wolverine.
Coach Kelowna.
And today, this is another conversation over drinks coming at you about acceptance. I struggle with acceptance. How about you?
Very much so.
I mean, I guess it's dependent as to what the acceptance is in and around, because my insecure self has that desire for controlling things. That is still that old habit that just does not want to die.
Which is wild. So we share some similar events that have happened that led to similar coping mechanisms, right? Which we've discussed before. The need for control and the need for distance is a defense mechanism for us, right? Does it actually help?
No, not even a little bit.
Have you spent a lot of time convincing yourself that it does actually help?
Absolutely, it does, because we want to, right? A to B. We want to feel whatever our level of peace is, but we build it on a foundation of, chaos. And so if we are isolating ourselves and it feels bad, we convince ourselves no, this is good. This is good for me. I don't need love.
Right. So, I mean, especially when we talk about self-esteem or we have any abandonment stuff or any I know in regards to friends, especially I've never really had that group, right? You've got all the the guys in high school who have that group who get to be that group forever.
Yeah, it's the Friends effect or the How I Met Your Mother effect.
Yeah,
or,
that kind of
that
stuff.
Friend group that is just there forever. Yeah, I don't have one either.
Which is some people do and some people don't, right? And I've personally spent time being that'd be cool, to have that, right? But at the same time, you start accepting that you're meant to do other stuff, right? You're meant to be a part of multiple groups, bring people together, share experiences via coaching or whatever, right? You have to find that, but you can never find a positive way or a purpose for that if you don't accept the position you're in. Right? There has to be a level of acceptance. I mean, I know they talk about it and everything, right? Unless you, same way, if you have a problem or a bad habit or an addiction or anything like that, you can't go about changing it unless you accept the fact that it's there.
You accept the problem, you own the fact that we made the choice to have the problem, and then we can move past it. Actually, I've been reading this book. It's called, what is it called? How to Not Care What People Think About You. It's this old book. It's so old, I found it it's falling out, the bindings are falling out of the back. But every single chapter, there's this little work question where it's the third step is own the fact you made the choice for this to be a reality for you. And so it's whether or not it's denial, whether or not it's bad habits. It's don't get mad at yourself for it, but own that you made this choice. Because everywhere we're at and whatever we do in our life is our choice. Unless there's somebody standing there, with a gun pointed at you and do this or else, which I like to say is a very small fractional percentage where this is actually happening. We make the choices. We determine where our life's going to go through the choices we make.
It's funny you bring that up. I watch sports documentaries and stuff like that, and they always talk about the greatest of the greats, and especially it comes up in basketball documentaries a lot. You watch stuff about Jordan or Kobe or any of those. And there's this ownership, even in hockey, but there's just less documentaries and stuff for that too. But there's this ownership. People will take ownership of stuff that's not even their problem, but they're nope, that is now my problem. And that's what motivates them, and that is what they did to go. But they talk about owning it, right? If you're a leader on a team, you need to own that. And that is going to hold you to higher standards.
There's an interesting mentality take actually on that too, is in anything that we experience in our life, anything. So if you're on a team or I'm on a team and they're doing something wrong, is if we're a leader and we own the fact that they're doing something wrong, is how do we plug ourselves in to help them overcome whatever issue they're going through. Yeah. And actually, it's the same type of deal. So formalized, Jocko Willink, right? Extreme ownership. He has a book all around that. But then on the spiritual side, actually, there's a practice called Ho'oponopono, I believe I pronounced that right, where basically is everything in life that happens outside of ourselves is a reflection of what's going on inside of us. And we take ownership over whatever's going on. And then as soon as we either show it love, forgiveness, gratitude, and acceptance, we can then move past it and change it.
Oddly enough, all those words are positive in nature.
Yeah.
Right? Which if we want to talk about energies and when we talk about that stuff, I had this conversation with a buddy the other day. So like if we're looking at the pillars of wellness, right, and everyone can pretty much agree that you're going to have mental, physical, and then a smaller percentage of people are going to talk about spiritual, which is, it's gaining traction and things like that, right? But a lot of people still equate, when you talk anything spiritual, they still want to equate it to like religion or anything like that way. So it does have this weird stigma attached to it. But the conversation I basically had is like, cognitively, mentally, like we have limits, right? There's concepts that you'll never understand. There's concepts that I'll never understand. And we all have varying levels of like essentially where our cognitive cap is, right? Physically, obviously, we all have caps. Like we all have abilities. Like we're not all freak athletes. Like we're not all these things. So physically we have a cap. And then when we start talking about positivity and energy and those things, and like that all falls in the spiritual portion, there's no cap to that. Like it's literally an unlimited tap of energy. And I've actually read chapters of books that talk about, I can't remember what it was. It was a book quoting another book, and they went into it pretty heavy. But it's basically discussing like if you're not spending time via like meditation, gratitude work, any of the stuff that falls under that spirituality time, you are leaving the most valuable resource you have untouched. Because it's unlimited, there's no limit to how much benefit you can get from it. And like, I know for me, all my clients that I talk to, that we work together, I get every one of them to get a journal and start doing a gratitude practice. That's it. 30 seconds in the morning, basically, 30 seconds in the evening, and they do that. And a lot of the times they're like, why am I doing this? And I was like, okay, well, how many problems have we solved in the course of us doing this? It's not,
Getting themselves into that state, that's actually a non-negotiable of mine with my clients, is if you're wanting to work with me, it's your daily gratitude is a must.
100%.
Not necessarily a big journal entry, but at least, what are 3 things you're thankful for?
5 minutes tops.
Exactly, it's all it takes.
And oddly enough, I was speaking with someone who did grow up quite religious and doing the practices and all that stuff, and I had the conversation. I was like, built into prayer, built into all that stuff is gratitude. And they'd never even considered that to be a thing. But I would consider them a very positive person, very uplifting and fun to be around, right? So good energy.
An interesting correlation that I've noticed is a lot of people who aren't even open to just this conversation here, not the religion part of spirituality, but just spirituality in itself, of the positive energy and stuff like that. Those are also the same people that are also most afraid to be alone with themselves.
And they're full of negative energy, right? You feel it when they walk into a room.
Now, exactly. And I'm not saying that for everybody. Like, I'm not saying that's everyone. I'm saying in my experience, this is what I have witnessed, is those people that are just like, oh, that's woo-woo, that's stupid. It's like, how about you try it before you just have that chip on your shoulder towards it? Like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of feeling better?
Did you watch that clip I sent you the other day?
You sent me a lot of clips. Which one?
Well, not the funny ones. He was talking about this thing where they basically took water, they put it in a bunch of petri dishes, they wrote a word on it, and then they spoke things in regards to that word at it, and then put it in the freezer. And
yes.
Yeah, and it would form crystals, and like positive words would form nice shapes, negative words would form basically trash-looking shapes. And then he talked about the experiment that you would do with rice, right? And you can do that to teach kids about energy. And you've seen, there's a bunch of high schools and stuff that have done it. I know I've saw clips of it where they have plants. And they have like the love plant and the hate plant, and you go bully the one plant and you go be nice to the other one, and the bullied one dies, right? Like this concept of energy is like, it's very not Western medicine.
It's not Western, but it's now at a point where it does not matter if you want to argue that it's not true. It is true. It's factual. There's tangible, visual evidence that can be placed in front of us that energy, whether it be positive, neutral, or negative, is very real. And it can't be argued.
It's not, I always use sports in what I do, because it's like sports is an isolated environment that you can pick things out of and you can like whatever, kind of like we do in the
highly relatable.
Yeah, and kind of like we do in the gym, right? Like for me, all our clients, we start with our goals in the gym and then we expand outward, because the process to achieving things in the gym and outside of the gym is exactly the same. The environment, however, in the gym versus out of the gym is not, because your environment in the gym is controllable. You go there, you know what it is, you can move the weights around 2 pounds at a time, whatever. You can't do that in real life, but the concept is still the same. Progressive overload, consistency, all of that stuff. But when it comes to accepting that that's the reality of what it is, like there's no one piece of information that's going to change your entire life, but there is something that can shift your perspective to finally understand that these processes they don't change.
So why would you think that a person, let's just circle back around, but just acceptance as a whole, if there is a tangible subject that a person is having trouble acceptance, what do you think the reason is that they're having trouble accepting?
At some point, they've done something or made a decision and justified it either immediately or long enough, and they're actually afraid to admit they were wrong. And that's where it all starts. If you're afraid to admit that like you made the choice, ownership, that put you in a situation, then you cannot move past that situation because it's not, until it's your fault, it's someone else's. And if it's someone else's fault, it's their control. And you've told yourself that they're in control of the situation, right? And then you get to the cliche, it's like your situation does not dictate your destination. You still have to have a destination. Right. You don't even have a destination if it's up to someone else.
So to kind of package this all into this nice little nutshell here, would you say that a person that is struggling to accept something is struggling knowing the bounds, limits, or they're just not currently friends with their ego?
Say like it's all internal, right? So if you want to call it your ego, you can call it your hypothetical self, you can call it whatever you want. But you even talked about how you were prompted to do a practice where you had to write a letter to a younger version of yourself, right?
Yep.
You have to accept there's a point in time where, whether it's a defense mechanism, coping mechanism, poor choice, whatever, it happened and you made that choice.
Yep.
And you need to go back, accept it, and be like, that sucks, I burnt X amount of days, X amount of years, X amount of dollars, can never get it back.
Nope.
That's never going to change. So it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do tomorrow to make sure that doesn't happen again? Or what am I going to do tomorrow that's different from today? And then we get into our cliche book, right? But that's the reality of it, right? So it's just one of those things where you need to accept whatever it is the problem is, accept it, own it, and then figure it out, and then work the problem. You don't need to immediately have a solution, but if you're not going to say there's a problem, then how do you solve it?
Well, that right there, that's the key. We can't move forward until we accept it.
And identify.
It's literally like having a ball and chain on our ankle. We're trying to move forward with a ball and chain on our ankle without accepting the fact that there's a ball and chain on our ankle.
And another one, like outside of using sports as examples, because I know I've harping on that a ton. Let's talk about relationships, right? You go from a relationship that's not so great, or you're in a relationship that's not so great, and then you finally make the decision to be like, okay, this isn't good. Mm-hmm. You move yourself out of it, and now you have to reestablish the self and identity and all this stuff, depending on how the severity of the relationship. There's stuff that you need to process, right? Like I know there's a lot of people that jump from relationship to relationship because they're more comfortable being in a relationship than they are being on their own, right? But that discomfort is where you need to go. Like you need to lean into the discomfort in order to move forward to have a better version of what you want. Yep. And I know for me, like I'm actually pretty comfortable the other way. Like I'm quite comfortable just not. And then for me, the problem becomes when there is an opportunity to be in something that's healthier, to have a relationship, whether it's with a friend, significant other, whatever, that's actually good for me, that I don't put the effort in because I'm like, I'm good otherwise. So it's, and vice versa. And I know you've been in a lot more relationships than I have, but it's like.
Yeah, I'm actually going through that personal growth right now of I am a person who was from relationship to relationship, and not speaking any ill will of any of my ex-girlfriends because they're all amazing people and they all have a very important role and great memories with all of them. Things just did not work. And so after this most recent relationship, like because I've been like that, maybe 4 or 5 months in between relationships, I've now made a hard line of being a year single and sitting in that discomfort. Accepting that I need to be single and sit in that discomfort because I'm used to always having somebody else there.
Right, and you're a direct contrast for me because, like, even if you look at my entirety, like I've been in, I would say, what, 3
3 grown-up relationships?
Yeah, 2.5 maybe, depending on where you want to do that. But like we're working on and everything going on, and like currently my situation, like I've never been in a position where everything has felt so like good in a sense, but it's also like there are days where I'm like, is this a joke? I'm like, is this a joke?
Waiting for the bomb to drop?
Yeah, waiting for another, but it's not coming, because the only way that bomb drops is if I drop it.
Yep.
And that's the ownership and acceptance. So it's unilateral, same thing. Like I was just complaining about my hip and stuff for months, and I was like, oh, my workout sucked and this was that. And I was like, oh, I just need my hip to get better. It wasn't getting better. So I was complaining, and then I was like, okay, well now we're just doubling down elsewhere. We're working on everything else we can.
Except that you need to take a step back from hockey, from sports, from the gym, and actually put more focus on recovery.
Exactly, right? Take my own advice is kind of a big thing too, which I know.
Practicing what we preach.
We tend to check each other.
Yeah. So acceptance, if we could wrap one-liner to somebody to watching, what would you say to 15-year-old you about, hey, you need to accept?
You need to own it. Like the situation you're in, just own what's happening right now. It's not something else. If something around you changes, you don't. So
I like that.
your situation that you're in, you're going to end up there every single time if you don't act differently and you don't change something internally. You end up in the exact same place over and over again, whether it's a relationship, a job. I know people that get good jobs and then somehow always fight with their manager, always, and like lose their job.
Yeah, I know a few people that are like that, and it's like, what is the common denominator here?
And like I have been in a situation like that where I didn't get in that. So it's like, hey, well, what's my alternative? Find a job where there's an environment that gives me some autonomy, and I like the ownership group that's there, and actively work on building something that's me. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I need to do in order for me to maintain like a healthy mental and this and that. But accepting that, right? Like, hey, I'm just not built to work your 9 to 5. Yeah. Tried it multiple times, didn't like it.
You get that.
And not that and I still have people ask like, oh, like how is it working 9 to 5? I hate it.
Sometimes it's too structured.
I hate driving home at the same time as everyone else. Like if I'm driving down the road and every other person's driving down, I'm like, no, I don't want to be here.
Get off my road. You're in my space.
Like I'd rather be going the other way. So that's but that's, again, I have to own that, right? If I'm going to live that lifestyle, that's what we're doing via coaching, right? We're owning an alternative lifestyle that helps transition us out of like the status quo.
Yep.
So it's, I can talk about this kind of all day. It's been a huge thing for me, especially as of late via like self-esteem, accepting friends that are supportive. And I know going through that last breakup that I did, I told you, I was like, dude, I couldn't believe the amount of people that offered up like a place to stay for a bit while I was looking for a new place to live kind of overnight and stuff like that. So it was like, all right, like we're in a good place. And you don't have people like that around if you're not doing good things. So it was like,
yeah. It's a good check-in. Mm-hmm. It really is. I know like a one-liner that I'll leave you with that I would say to my past self is lean into the discomfort when it comes to personal development is, yeah, it's going to suck. It will suck, not to sugarcoat it, but the tomorrow version of you or the next week or the next month or the next year or 5-year version of you is going to thank you for leaning in that discomfort back then, because when we don't lean into the discomfort right now, we're going to end up leaning into it later. It doesn't just go away. It just gets buried until we actually lean into that discomfort.
It's going to find you one day or another, and that's like right back to everything we've been talking about, right? There's no gold star for showing up, right? You got to own it, and you got to try, and you got to get after it. And that's going to be a recurring theme, I think, in a lot of this next season, so to speak.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But
I can talk about this all day, man. That's it for me. I think just accept it, move forward. If you accept that there's an issue and you just simply can't figure out the problem, ask for help. Yeah. Go, like, whether that's
take ownership over everything.
Yeah. Whether that's therapy, whether that's like you're struggling in the gym, so you need a coach or a trainer, whether that's just reaching out for an accountability with like family and friends. Like, don't just think that it's all up to you. You can own a problem and still move forward with the help of other people.
And you can get help with it. It's not weak to ask for help. Like, that stigma has to die.
Yeah.
Has to die. All right, guys, please like, share, subscribe, and we hope you have yourself a fantastic day.
Own it.
Cheers.